Mundaka Upanishad. We have reached the second Mundaka, second Valli, and we saw at length this ninth mantra, the fruit of Brahma Vidya. This is the section of Nididhyasan. It is deep contemplation, and the contemplation results in a transformation, and the transformation is in various forms, but the primary transformation is in our attitude in living, in our readjustment of the understanding of the world allows us to live in this world with a drashti of Jnana. Drashti Jnanamayi Krutva Pashyed Brahmamayam Jagat. This beautiful aphoristic sentence in the Aparoksha Anubhuti, Shankaracharya ji says that itself is the fruit of Brahma Vidya, that the same world which is a source of a lot of mental conflict, that gets resolved, and that is known as Vidyate Hridaya Granthihi. The Hridaya Granthi of avidya, Kam, Karma, the ignorance born desires, and those desires which propel the jiva into karma, and the karma which is a source of bondage and the source of limitation in terms of our expression in this world, which doesn't allow us to see the full scope. We see through the lens of the karmic vasanas, and the very dissolution of all these karmic vasanas is Vidyate Hridaya Granthi Chhidyante Sarva Shamshayaha. The greatest samshaya about this Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara, that is resolved. The doubts about where I am headed, what is the purpose, all those things are resolved. All doubts in terms of proper understanding takes place, and because of the proper understanding the doubts are gone. Chhidyante sarva samshayaha kshiyante chasya karmani. The karmas are reduced. Which karmas are reduced? The desire prompted actions are reduced, because the desire itself is removed, but the karma which is set into motion by the prarabdha and what the samashti makes the Mahapurusha go through, that continues. So that kshiyante chasya karmani, not only that, but the bondage created by the karma, because that is gone, the limited vision is gone. We are so accustomed to seeing this world from the lens of karma, and that is gone. Tasmin drushte paravare, this para brahma, avara karya rupa brahma, having understood this absolute and having understood this inferior, paravidya, understood, having gone in the state of abidance. Only when one gains the abidance which is beyond the lower, when that person tasmin drushte para avare, that is what is तस्मिन् सर्वज्ञे संसारिणि परावरे परं च कारणात्मन अवरं च कार्यात्मन तस्मिन् परावरे साक्षात् अहम् अस्मीति दृष्टे संसार कारण उच्छेदनम् उच्यते इत्यर्थः. That absolute which is the very cause of everything and the inferior which is the effect of that cause, both the cause and the effect is understood as Sakshat Aham Brahma Asmiti, that I alone am, I alone am. Continuing, Hiranmaye pare koshe Virajam Brahma Nishkalam Tachubram Jyotisham Jyotihi Yadatma Vido Viduhu. We did this? No, we haven't. Okay. So, Hiranmaye pare koshe, this very beautiful mantra. Now see, these are the mantras where Jyotirmaya Brahma, the other one, the Vidyate Hrudaya Granthi, that was the fruit of Brahma Jnana, Brahma Vidya, Brahma Vidya's fruit. Now this mantra allows us to understand that same Brahma, the Karana Karyatmana, that cause and effect, that Brahman becomes the cause as the Satsvarup. As it is, the existence aspect of Brahma is the Satsvarup, and the effect which is experienced over here, that effect in there, I am the Chaitanya looking at the effect. So that Chaitanya Swarup is now talked about as this Jyotirmayi Brahma. In the next 3 mantras, the Jyotir form of this Atma is explained over here. Hiranmaye Jyotirmaye Buddhi Vijnana Prakashe. So over here Shankaracharya ji explains what is this Hiranmaye Jyotirmaye. It is said Buddhi Vijnana Prakashe. In this buddhi which is also matter, but that matter becomes enliven. So how does that matter which is jada express sentiency? So it is because of the very the matter itself is the Sat Swarup. It is existence aspect. Matter is, the glass is, the table is. But the table cannot know itself. The cup cannot know itself. The book cannot know itself. So existence aspect of consciousness is expressed in the world of matter. But in this special matter of buddhi, it is capable of knowing itself. So it is said that buddhi vijnana prakashe, the buddhi which is capable of knowing visheshena jnana, vijnana, it knows this is cup, it knows this is book. And the buddhi which knows the objective reality, the knowing aspect of it, is known over here as Jyotirmaya. It illumines the objective reality, the objective world of existence is brought to reality. Buddhi vijnana prakashe pare koshe. But at the same time, it is beyond the kosha. This is vijnanamaya kosha. We saw the annamaya kosha, the pranamaya kosha, sharira neta, manomaya. We saw the mantra 2 mantras ago, that this is annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, buddhimaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, anandamaya kosha, and ananda atma. So even though it is in this buddhi as vijnana prakashe pare koshe, but it is beyond the limitations of the matter created limitations of buddhi, but the chaitanya aspect of it is the beyond the limitations created by the matter aspect of this Atma Tattvam. Pare koshe kosha iva asehe, like a sword. Sword is always kept in its kosh, and then the sword is removed from its little shell, and then when it is used after the sword, the kings in the olden days, when they used to use a sword, they would put it back into its case. So like that, the sword which exists in its casing, in the same way this Chaitanyamaya exists in that kosha of this Vijnanamaya. That Vijnanamaya, in there is this Atma, but that in has to be understood over here. It is the subtlety of the Atma. So in that Vijnanamaya kosha, the Atma can express its ability to know. The consciousness of the Atma can be expressed, but in this table, that same consciousness is, but the table cannot express the knowership. The doership is not there. So in that way we have to understand this in. It is what is meant by this Atma Tattvam inside the Vijnanamaya kosha, meaning the Vijnanamaya kosha allows the existence aspect of Chaitanya to express Chaitanyata. The consciousness aspect is illumined because the buddhi is a special matter which allows the existence aspect to express knowledge. The table doesn't have that sukshma, that subtle matter where that same existence cannot express consciousness, but Brahma exists as existence. In that way, kosha iva ase atma swarupa upalabdhi sthanatvat. In this buddhi, Atma Swarupa Upalabdhi Sthanatvat. It is the place where the nature of the Atma can be known. The nature of the Atma being, it is Chaitanya Swarup. It is Sat Swarup, but it is also Chaitanya Swarup. And that Chaitanya can express, even the Chaitanya can also know its Ananda Swarup. Wherever Chaitanya Swarup is there, only there Ananda Swarup can be experienced. And the highest Anand is when matter is not a burden to consciousness. Wherever matter becomes a burden, we lose the Ananda aspect and we start looking for Anand, because my own mind is a burden to me. My own limitations of emotions and feelings are burden to me. My own limitations of thoughts are a burden to me, and thus Anand aspect of this Brahman cannot be experienced in its full glory. All the limitations of the emotions and feelings create as though a picket fence around the absolute awareness, and in this way that cannot be. But the minute in the Vijnanamaya Kosha, when the purity of Antakarana happens, when the mind and the intellect becomes Sukshma and Tikshna. Sukshma, it becomes subtle. Tikshna, that buddhi is able to know Atma as Atma without objectifying it. At that point, full Satchidananda Swarup is known. That's why it is said Atma Swarupa Upalabdhi Sthane. It is over here, it is known, and I know my own nature. Param tat sarvam sarvabhyantaratvat tasmin virajam. It is param, it is the absolute, tat sarvabhyantaratvat, yet it is the very inner existence of everything. It is the very inner core of all beings and matter, everything. Tasmin virajam, and that Atma is devoid of any taint, it being the very support of everything. When it is said that it is the very sarvabhyantaratvat, it is the very inner core, meaning it is the support of all. Like wood is the support of the table, the fiber is the support of the carpet, the cotton is the support of the cloth. In this way, Atma is the very support of this universe. Virajam, and what is this virajam? Avidyadi ashesha dosha rajomala varjitam. It is devoid of avidya adi dosha, the limitations created by ignorance, etc. Ignorance, the self is not known, and because self is not known, when the avidya is projected onto the self, the non-apprehension creates misapprehension. And when the self is not known, in place of the self, something else is known. And whatever is known is all mithyavi jagat, that is called ashesha dosha rajo mala. All the projections. So, avidya is the avarna shakti. And that avarna shakti, that envelopment, creates projection, and the projection is ashesha dosh, the effects of avidya, and the effects of avidya are the projection. And what is that? Rajo mala varjitam. And that projection, inability to know myself, creates all sorts of other types of desire. Now I want to know myself, I want to go over there, I want to go over there, here, there, I want to get this. Why? Because I want to be happy. So for the sake of happiness and for the sake of knowledge, all the rajo guna, tamo guna activity comes out. So rajo mala varjitam, devoid of that is that hiranmaye pare koshe virajam brahma brahma. And what is that Brahma? Sarva mahatvat sarvam atmatvacha. That Brahman is the big, the entire cosmic world which exists. Not just this, ananta koti brahmand, infinite infinite worlds which are put into motion. The whole thing is Brahman, Brahman, Brahman. But at the same time, it is at Sarva Atma Cha. It is the very essence of everything. So that which is the big and that which is the smallest. Smallest meaning that which is the support of everything. In that way, Nishkalam Nirgataha Kalaha Yasman Tasmin Nishkalam Niravayavam Ityarthaha. Chandrama goes through various kalas. We have the Shukla Paksha and then we have the Krishna Paksh. So in the Shukla Paksh we go towards the Purnima, and then the Krishna Paksha we go towards the Amavasya. So every day the moon has a different kala, manifestation. So over here, Nishkalam, in this Brahman, there are no kalas. There is no expansion and constriction. That Brahman doesn't have any kala, meaning you can describe it, you can quantify it, you can do all sorts of quantification of it, description of it. So Brahman you cannot quantify, you cannot describe. That is what is meant by Nishkalam, taintless. Any type of taint you can describe, but Nirgataha Kalaha Yasmat Nishkalam. In this all the kalas are gone. What is the kala? Mind alone is the greatest kala. Every day different emotions, different feelings. That is why the presiding deity of Manasya Devata Chandrama, moon, becomes the presiding deity because it continuously changes. So like that, Nirgata Kala, Niravayavatvat, and there are no parts. The body has parts, the hands, the head, the trunk, the legs, so on and so forth. Every part can be seen of the body, but there is no part of Brahman. Yasmat Virajam Nishkalam Chat Tat Shubram Shuddham Jyotisham. This Brahman, it is again Nishkalam, and because it is Nishkalam, it is Shubram. Shubram Shuddham, it is immaculately pure. It has nothing, no taint in it. Jyotisham Tad Jyotihi Sarva Prakashatmanam Agnihi Adinam Apitad Jyotihi. That which illumines everything, like fire. Fire gives off light and heat, and that light lights up everything. So in this way, this Atma Tattvam lights up everything. It is the very force behind the Jyoti to behave like a Jyoti. That is what is said. Agni Adinam Apita Jyoti Avabhasakam. It makes even the fire shine. And Agni Adinam Api Jyotishtam Antargata Brahmatma Chaitanya Jyotihi Nimittam Ityarthaha. The very light of the fire is the Atma, but the very light of the Buddhi is knowledge. And that is what is talked about over here. Antargata Brahmatma, that Brahma, the innermost in this Antargata Buddhi Maya Koshe. In this Buddhi, how does it express itself? Chaitanya Jyoti. It is the light of consciousness. It is the light of awareness. It's a different type of light. This tube light lights up this hall. But the tube light in the buddhi lights up our ability to know. So the light in the tube light is the light which illumines, like a Agni, the sun, the moon, the stars, which is the very next mantra. But over here, this light in the buddhi lights up the ability to know. That is why it is said Chaitanya Jyoti Nimittam Ityarthaha. It is the very light of consciousness. Tadhi param jyotihi yad anya anavabhasyam atma jyotihi tadyat atmavid atmanam swam shabdadi vishaya buddhi pratyaya sakshinam ye vivekinaha viduhu vijanante te atma viduhu. Tat param jyoti yad anya anavabhasyam, that absolute jyoti which is within, it lights up everything else, but there is no other jyoti to light itself. It is self-luminous. No other jyoti is required to light it. Like for example, the tube light may be functioning, the wires may be there, the switch is on, but there is no electricity. The city has cut off the power. So this tube light depends upon the electricity to light itself. The fire depends upon this Brahman to allow the fire to manifest the firehood. But this Chaitanya Brahman does not depend upon anything else for its Chaitanya. It is self-luminous. That Atma Jyotihi Yattad Atmavid Atmanam Swam Shabdadi Vishaya Buddhi Pratyaya Sakshinam. It becomes the witness of Shabdadi Vishaya. All the Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, all the 5 different types of sensory perception, it is the enlivening force behind these 5 senses, and it is because of this Atma, all this Shabda, the Vishaya, all of them illumine and all of them exist, all of them are known only because of this Atma. And this Atma is Swam. It is known by whom? Vivekinaha viduhu vijananti te. The wise man comes to know, it is me, the Atma, which lights up my own world of objective reality as the hearing, the touch, the seeing, the smelling, and the taste. All of these 5 are known because I, the consciousness, illumine it. Te Atma Viduhu Tad Viduhu. The ones who know the Atma in this way, that there is no other Atma to know Atma. They know Atma as me, I myself. And because of I, the Atma, all the experiences are illumined in that way. Atma Pratyaya Anusarinaha. Because the Atma shines, everything else shines after it. Anusarinaha. Yasmat Param Jyotihi Tasmat Tat Eva Tad Viduhu Na itare bahyartha pratya anusarinaha. They never understand the Atma as some external object which becomes the source of it. The source is Atma alone. And Atma alone is, and that Atma is known as me, and that knower of the self, aham, 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 I am, I am, I am. And because I am capable of knowing. Because I am, I know the cup. Because I am, I know the table. So in all, when I say I know table, the I know comes from Atma. Table is the matter provided entity. So I know is Atma, and the locus is Buddhi. But the Atma is I. It ever is. So existence I, Chaitanya I know, and then I know table, that becomes a manifested reality. That same unqualified existence I becomes qualified by the Buddhi Maya Kosh. Because of the Buddhi, I can say I know it is Jyotirmaya. There is no such thing as Jyotirmaya cup. The cup cannot say I know. That I know comes from, it is the nature of Atma that I itself is no, but I know has a locus over here, Buddhi, and in this way I can say, oh, I know the cup, I know this. But in the seat of meditation, it is understood as I am. That I know gets translated into I am. I am. But I am to whom? Myself. That's why somebody says, you know Atma, how can they answer? I need the second person to answer. So, the minute I say, yes, I know Atma, I have objectified it. And the minute I have objectified it, I have not known it. Because I know it as this, and Atma is not this. That is why the knower of the self is silent. Through their own expression in this world, you can infer that that person is Brahmanishtha. The behavior itself is a clear evidence as to how close they are to the self. And that presence of that person, the ability of the Atma to express its subtlety, you will see in their subtlety of the self, in the language, in the presence, what they say, what they don't say, also express the Brahman aspect of it. It is only Brahman, Brahman, Brahman. Katham tad jyotisham jyoti iti uchyate. How is it that this Atma is the Jyoti of all Jyotis, the very famous mantra which we chant every day? Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam. Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam. Nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi. Nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. Tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. Tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. We hold a bell in our hand and we violently ring the bell and we chant this. But this is a nididhyasan mantra, you know. It is to remind ourselves that this is the goal. This is where I have to reach. This is where the buddhi has to find its locus. This is Jyotirmaya Brahma. So, Brahma's absolute, Brahman's Sarvatma Prakasha Swarupa. It is Sarva Prakashakatvat. It is the illumining entity. I cannot even say entity, but then how can I use language? So, this self-luminous absolute consciousness, because it exists, all exists, and that is the very essence of this mantra. So, na tatra tasmin sarvatma bhute brahmani sarva avabhasakah api surya bhati. Tatra tasmin sarvatma bhute brahmani. In that very Brahman itself, avabhasakah api surya bhati. This Brahman itself shines, and the shining aspect of Brahman, even the sun cannot go over there to illumine this Brahman. The ability of the Brahman to shine. And again, this is a limitation of language. I'm using the word the ability of Brahman to. There is no such thing as ability of Brahman to shine. Brahman is self-luminous. But because of the limitations of language, we use such words, the ability of Brahman to shine. There is no such thing as ability. So please understand that. So that Brahman which is self-luminous, the illuminating aspect of Brahman is so Tejasvi Swarup that even the sun cannot go over there. But the sun cannot exist without this Brahman. And that is the next line. Tad Brahman, Tad Brahma na prakasheti ityarthaha. This sun cannot light up Brahman. And we know the brightness of the sun. The sun is so bright, and this sun revolves around other suns, and those suns revolve around other suns, and it is said there are suns million times bigger than our sun. And those suns, there are suns as big as the Milky Way galaxy itself. Oh ho ho ho, such huge. And even that sun cannot light up Brahman. Our mind goes numb when we actually think about it. Because our understanding of light, the biggest light, the sun. And you take the biggest light of the universe, meaning the light of Brahman, don't think of it as literally some light. It is the light of presence. It is the light of awareness. Bas, that's it. So, that is what is meant over here. Sahi tasyaiva bhasa sarvam anyad anatma jatam prakashiti tyartham. That all the anatma jatam, the world of matter, the world of this pluralistic matter born reality comes to know, it comes to being in the presence of the light of the sun, and the matter itself is supported by none other than this Brahman. So, sahi tasyaiva bhasa. What light? The light of the sun illumines the world of matter to me as the objective reality. But the light of Brahman illumines the world of matter as existence. This. The cup is this way because matter is. Matter is because Brahman is. So that is the light which is talked about. Natu tasya swataha prakashana samarthyam. The world of matter is not capable of illumining itself. It is matter. The consciousness aspect of matter alone can, Brahman alone can express in this matter as I know. Tatha na chandra tarakam naima vidyuto bhanti kutaha ayam agnihi asmad gocharaha. This sun cannot light this Atma, but the sun can light up the matter world. Then what to talk of the moon, the stars, and the little fire which I am waving in front of you, O God? I may be using this camphor to wave as a Mangala Nirajanam in front of the Tirupati Bhagavan sitting over there in the Tirumala, or the Sabarisha, or the Guruvayur, wherever it may be. People make a pilgrimage to see this little murti. But this camphor which allows us to see the murti, he alone makes the very light to light up the murti, and he is beyond both the little lamp and the murti. He is actually beyond that. He is the Chaitanya which allows matter to exist as Satsvarup, and me as the Chaitanya Swarup, which knows that what is indicated by this little murti of Guruvayur is actually the Lord of the universe. The Krishna Tattva is represented over there. Kim Bahuna, what else is there? Yadidam Jagad Bhati Tattameva Parameshwaram Swataha Bharupatvad Bhantam Deepyamanam Anu Bhatya Anu Deepyate. It is only because Paramatma exists. It is only because Paramatma exists and the Chaitanya aspect of Paramatma exists, all shines after him. Anudipyate, it all shines after him because he shines. Because Atma is, the sun is. Because Atma is, the moon is. Because Atma is, the galaxy of stars are. Because Atma is, lightning is. Because Atma is, a little fire on earth is possible on top of camphor. Because Atma is all these sources of light. These are the 5 natural sources of light. The sun, the moon, the stars, the thunder lightning, and the fire on earth. There is no 6th natural source of light. That is why this mantra includes these 5. Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam naima vidyuto bhanti kutaha ayam agni. So these 5 are the natural sources of fire, and even the source of the natural sources of fire being Brahma, these cannot go to illumine Brahman. That is what is saying. But because Brahman is, all 5 exist. Yatha jalaha ulmukadyadi agni sanyog adi agnim dahantam anudahati nasvataha tadvat tasyeva bhasa diptya sarvamidam suryadi jagat vibhati. This water by itself is room temperature. At room temperature, whatever is the temperature becomes the temperature of the water. But the minute the water is put, Agni Sanyog, when it is put in a vessel on top of the fire, the water becomes hot. So the heat of the fire is transferred to the water and water becomes hot. When a dark black coal is put in the fire, the coal starts burning and it becomes a bright red block of fire. Angari, they call it in Sanskrit. It becomes Angarakam. It becomes a red glowing ball of fire. But the coal by itself is dark and cold, and that same coal, because in union with fire, it becomes red and it becomes hot. So because of the union of that coal with fire, the nature of the fire is transferred. In the same way, the material world, being part of Brahman, it expresses the nature of Brahman. In the sun, the light aspect is the light and the existence aspect is revealed. In the buddhi, the existence aspect, but a different aspect of light is revealed. The light which is revealed in buddhi is knowing aspect, Chaitanya. But the manifested light cannot take me to this buddhi to reveal the knowing aspect of Brahman. That is beyond it. That is what is trying to say, that Suryadi Jagat Vibhati. Surya illumines everything else in the Jagat except Atma. But Surya cannot exist without Atma. And that Atma expressed in the sun as heat and light. And that same Atma expresses in the buddhi as I know. I know. Yataha evam tadeva brahma bhati cha vibhati cha karya gatena vividhena bhasastasya brahmanaha bharupatvam svataha avagamyate. Brahman alone as effects shines in various objects. All the effects that we see in this world, the world of matter, objects, it is all effects. But Brahman is the Karana, it is the cause. So as cause it exists, as effects it exists, and as effects it exists Vishesha Rupena, specifically objects, and in each object it expresses its uniqueness. And collectively it expresses nature as well. In the forest, each individual tree expresses its individuality. One tree gives sour fruits, another tree gives very sweet fruits. One tree gives a beautiful, fragrantful flowers. The other one, it has a nasty odor to it. But collectively, all trees put together is a forest, and it contributes to the globe as the oxygen producing factory which cleans up the environment. So individually each tree does its own uniqueness, but collectively as a forest it also adds value to the whole universe. So Vishesha Rupena Bhati Vividha Rupena Bhati Samanya Rupena Bhati. In this way Brahman is Nahi swataha avidyamanam bhasanam anyasya kartum shaknoti. One which does not shine cannot make something else shine. So because Brahman exists and Brahman shines, all else exists and it shines. Again, take this word shine with a pinch of salt. Shine is because the sun shines, but the buddhi shines like knowledge. So the shine of the buddhi and the shine of the sun are two different things. So in that way, over here shine is taken. It is called bhasamanam. Bhasamanam, outside the sun, reveals. Buddhi, bhasamanam, buddhi also reveals, but buddhi's revelation is knowledge. The cup is known like that. So that bhasamanam is known differently. Nahi swataha avidya ghatadinam anya avabhasakatvam adarsanat bharupanam cha adityadinam tad darshanat. Ghatadi, ghat, pot, etc. The pot exists, but the pot cannot know the table. The sun exists. The sun reveals the world of objects, meaning it sheds its light in this world, but the sun cannot know that this is Earth, this is Mercury, this is Jupiter. The sun lights up the whole galaxy, but this self over here in this body, it is capable of knowing, and that knowledge aspect is ghatadinam anya avabhasakatva adarshanat. It is not seen that a pot knows something else, but the sun sheds its light, but the light cannot reveal. Only a sentient being comes to know. Yatta jyotisham jyotihi brahma tadeva satyam sarvam tad vikaram vacha rambhanam vikaro namadheyam matram anrutam iti etad artham vistarena hetuhu pratipaditam nigamana sthaniyena mantrena punaha upasamharati. Over here it is said that the consciousness aspect alone is. Anything other than that is vacha rambhanam vikaro namadheyam. Everything else is a play of speech. All is the play of speech, because the play of speech reveals only matter. Anrutam, it is unreal. all this reality is unreal. It is a fantastic play of words. That is all. But the one who is capable of revealing words, he is, and he alone is. And that person is the self, and that self is. And again, this self is going to be talked about in the last mantra as the anubhuti of this Mahatma. I am Brahmaiva Aham. Purastat, Paschat. I am Brahman. In front of me is Brahman. Behind me is Brahman. Above me is Brahman. Below me is Brahman. That doesn't mean he will go out and start dancing Brahman, Brahman, Brahman. In the understanding, everything is Brahman, but not available for language, available for knowing. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.